This video today is sponsored by Fanhome, offering a wide variety of high-end models and figurines. You can go over to their website where there will be a link below where you can see their new model that they're offering of the iconic Star Trek Next Generation Enterprise D, and it goes over all the details of this amazing model as well as information to get started. And for as little as $8 you can get parts sent to you. Here are the parts, and they come nicely bubble wrapped, as well as a detailed magazine that not only goes step by step on how to assemble this amazing model, but also goes into detail about the Enterprise D, and it's super easy to assemble. Just follow the instructions, and before you know it, you are going to have your Enterprise. The link below is to Fanhome, where you can start building your high-end models today. Today I'm looking at a classic arcade game, Star Trek Strategic Operations Simulator, and its many different console and computer ports. I'm really excited about covering this as I'm a pretty big Star Trek fan. Watched many of the different TV series and episodes, and in today's video I'm taking a look at the classic arcade game released in '83 and its many different ports. I've done a few other videos covering the many ports of a particular game. I enjoy doing these, so sit back, relax. Here we go. Classic Sega arcade games don't get enough respect, and this is a really cool one. Color Vector has speech, and you go around defending star bases. You can dock with them to replenish shields, and you take out Klingons, and it had a really cool control setup in the arcade. There was two different versions of the arcade, and I do believe I just played the traditional setup. I didn't play the sit-down version back in the day. But you know what? This is a fun one. And you know what? Not a lot of people remember this one. Or if you grew up with it, you do remember it. But for many people, this was, I think, more on the obscure side. Came out in '83. So it was at kind of not the best time for arcade game to come out. So if you're a Sega fan, Star Trek fan, arcade fan, you need to check this one out, as I think it is a timeless classic. Luckily for people, there were many different home and computer ports of this game. The 2600 version came with a controller overlay and had pretty awesome graphics and good controls. And so I want to show you the graphics, and for many people, this is the version of this game that you played. And you know what? It was awesome. The graphics were downscaled, but I still think it captures the arcade essence that made this game fun. And you know what? The 2600 really represented how fast gameplay could be. I really enjoyed this one, even though it is a pretty big downscale from the arcade. It also had the bonus of an additional level in which you're like avoiding meteors and docking with multiple star bases in a time limit. Definitely check this out on the 2600, as I think it is a faithful port, even though the graphics have been downscaled. Here's the Atari 8-bit and Atari 5200 version, and as you can see, the graphics are better. My good friend Atari Leaf did a more in-depth review of the gameplay of this particular version. He did a wonderful job. And so, pretty much basically, it is a lot like the arcade, with different control setup, as you can use the keyboard if you're playing the Atari 8-bit version. Pretty awesome. And so you're going around defending star bases. You can recharge your supplies by going over them. It does have the additional level in this version. Not all versions, home versions, had the additional meteor level. And eventually you will have to overcome and defeat the evil Nomad. For me, this is a solid port, kind of middle of the road though, as I prefer other versions. The Colecovision version had the additional option of using a Super Action controller. Really cool sound, as it's a pretty good rendition of the Star Trek theme. And you know what? I like this version. I wish it had voice sound, but you know what? It has a lot of what made the arcade ideal. You know what? But if you have a Colecovision, this is a pretty good version and not too expensive still. You know what? When it comes down to it, I like the Colecovision's graphics. It definitely is a step up from other versions, as I think it has some pretty nice renditions of classic iconic Star Trek ships and bases. You know, I love that like tri-screen. It shows score and a first-person perspective as well as the overview. This is a good version. I think there's a lot of things that need to be considered for the Apple II release of Star Trek. And you know what? This is a 70s computer. There was some limitations of what it could do. But, you know, overall, I thought this was an okay version. Not my favorite. I'm emulating it here just to show some graphics and gameplay. I had some control issues. I wish I could have played this on original hardware. And you know what? I think overall, I think the graphics are pretty nice. And you know what? I would have been completely satisfied playing this version, especially knowing that many Apple II computers were at school. While I mostly played Oregon Trail on the Apple II in elementary school, in the comments, let me know. Did you play this game on the Apple II? Where did you play it? Was this available at any schools? I would love to hear from you. Then you have the VIC-20 version. Nice rendition. And you know what? I know the VIC-20 often gets dismissed, but you know what? While this version is inferior in many different ways, graphics especially, but you know what? I still found that the gameplay was fast. You know, I'm a big Commodore VIC-20 fan, and you know what? While this graphically isn't a great looking version, I found the gameplay to be pretty fast and enjoyable, and it has all the aspects of the arcade release here in simplified form. But you know what? For even Sega to pull off a version for the VIC-20 is impressive. But you know what? Maybe you grew up with this version, but I found myself enjoying it, as you know, I am a big VIC-20 fan, and it was really cool to see this version. Even though I prefer other versions over it, I think I would have been totally happy with this back in the day. The TI-99 4A version is pretty solid. Here is a cartridge variant, black and white label, pretty difficult to find, that I picked up. Anyways, nice rendition of the theme song, and here it is. The graphics are pretty good. I don't know if the gameplay is as fast as the 2600 version, but that addition of voice with the speech module, you know what's pretty cool. I'm actually running this on actual hardware, so it was nice to fire up my TI-99 4A and play a cartridge. And you know what? For many people, I'm sure this was a hit, probably on the classic computer, as you know, I think it's a pretty good version of the arcade game. I like the graphics. You know what? It's different than the Colecovision version, which I always enjoy different ports and seeing the differences. In the comments, definitely let me know, what do you prefer, this version or other versions? I would like to hear back from you. There are definitely mixed opinions about the C64 version. Graphically very impressive. One of the better looking home ports of this arcade game. But you know what? It doesn't have the asteroid field, an additional level that even the 2600 version has. Some people are disappointed with that. But I like the kind of like the bridge simulator look at the bottom screen. That's pretty nice. And so, in my opinion, this looks great, plays good. Wish it had the additional asteroid or meteorite level. But you know what? I still think it's fun to play. I know many people grew up with this. You know what? Definitely in the comments, I want to hear, have you played the C64 version? And you know what? Overall, very impressive with how it looks. I mean, it's a fantastic looking Commodore 64 game. You know, if I was a kid back in the day and I had a copy of this, I would be totally happy with it and not complaining about what it didn't have in this version. This was a fun one to cover. I've been wanting to do it for several months and finally got around to doing it. What was your favorite port? Do you like the original arcade game? Have you played it? Did you know about this game? There's so many different Star Trek games out there. It's easy to get overlooked, as this is a classic. I enjoy the home ports of this, played several different ones, and I do enjoy this game. And anyways, in the comments below, let me know. What are your thoughts about this game? Did you play it? Is this something new to you? Anyways, thank you for coming to my channel. If you like what you see, consider hitting that like and subscribe button and clicking the bell as I'm uploading videos every week. You folks are wonderful and beautiful. This is the Immortal John Hancock, and you take care.